Hello, 7th graders. This is Miss White, and today we're going to do lesson 22, solving equations using algebra. At this time, let's flip over the page to example 2. Example 2. Jenny is on the local swim team for the summer and has swim practice 4 days per week. The schedule is the same each day. The team swims in the morning and then again for 2 hours in the evening. If she swims 12 hours per week, how long does she swim each morning? Now we're going to start using a tape diagram to go about solving this equation. Because we know she has swim practice for 4 days, we're going to make a tape diagram and have 4 boxes. Remember that each one of these boxes represents 1 day. Now by looking at our scenario again, we know that she swims in the morning and then she swims 2 hours in the evening. Because we're trying to figure out how much she swims in the morning, we need to use what we know to put it in for each of our boxes that represents each day. So for the morning, because we don't know how many hours she is swimming, we are going to use a variable, and in this case I'm using x, plus the amount of hours she swims in the evening, and we know that is 2 hours. So each day we have x plus 2. And again, x represents the amount of hours she swims in the morning, which we do not know. But we know our total amount of hours between the 4 days is 12 hours. To figure out what x represents, what we need to do is add up the amount of hours we know that she is swimming in the evening. So to do that, I know that she practices for 4 hours per week times 2 hours for the evening. 4 times 2 is going to give us a total of 8 hours for the evening. Now what we need to do is take our total number of hours, which we know is 12, okay, and remember we got that from here. We're going to take our total amount of hours of 12 minus the amount of hours that she is swimming in the evening per week, which we know is 8. Now I have 12 minus 8, which is going to give me 4 hours. So now that I know that she's swimming a total of 4 hours total for the mornings, okay, so here's our evenings, and then this represents our mornings per week, okay. Then we're going to take 4 hours in the morning and divide it by the amount of days we practice, which was 4. So 4 over 4 is going to give us 1. Okay, so 1 represents that she practices 1 hour in the mornings. To check our work, I can substitute 1 in for x. So I have 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, and 1 plus 2. Well, when we have 1 plus 2, we know that's going to give us a value of 3. So every box in here is going to represent 3. If I have 4 boxes times the value of each box, which is 3, it is going to give me a total of 12 hours. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next page. Here we're going to start with these exercises. It says solve each equation algebraically using if-then statements to justify each step. So number 1, if we have 5x plus 4 equals 19, then the first step we need to do to get x by itself, then we have 5x plus 4 minus 4 equals 19 minus 4. So to get x by itself first, we needed to take the term that x is not associated with, which was 4, and I took 4 and I subtract the property of the equality for the additive inverse of 4. And the additive inverse of positive 4 is negative 4. So when I put negative 4 on the left side, I also needed to put it on the right side. And that's why I have 19 minus 4. If I have 5x plus 4 minus 4, which is going to give us 0, it equals 19 minus 4, which is going to give us 15. Then we know now that 5x equals 15. If we know that 5x equals 15, then we take the multiplication property of equality, which here it is 5x because 5 and x are being multiplied by one another, and multiply it by the inverse of 5. The inverse of 5 in this case is going to be 1/5. So I have 1/5 times 5x equals, what I do to one side here, I have to do the other, 1/5 times 15. Here we call this the multiplicative inverse. Now, when I'm multiplying by fractions to try to solve for x, a neat way that I use is I always put 1 underneath my whole values to help me multiply my numerators and my denominators. When I multiply fractions, I multiply my numerators and I multiply my denominators, and that is it. So let's go ahead and do that. So here I know that I have 1 times 5, which is going to give me 5. And then my denominator, I have 5 times 1, which is going to give me 5. I know that my answer is going to be 5 over 5. And 5 over 5 is going to give me 1. So if I have 1x equals, now I need to multiply my other side. I have 1 times 15, which is going to give me 15 as my numerator, over 5 times 1, which is 5, as my denominator. Now to simplify this, I can simplify these by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 3 divided by 1 is going to give me 3. So I know my value for the other side is 3. So if 1x equals 3, then I know that x equals 3. Go ahead and pause this video and do number 2 by yourself. All right, go ahead and look through your work, and where you see errors, please correct your mistakes. All right, let's go ahead and complete number 4. So here I have 2 times x plus 4 equals 18. My goal is to get x by itself to know what the value of x is. If 2x plus 4 equals 18, I need to first multiply 2 by its inverse. Okay, so the inverse of 2 is going to be 1/2, and because 2 here is being used to multiply, it's called a multiplicative inverse. So then I'm going to take my inverse of 2, which is 1/2, and multiply it by 2 and x plus 4 equals, what I do to one side I have to do to the other, 1/2 times 18. If I know that when I multiply my inverses together, I'm going to get the value of 1. So now I have 1 times x plus 4 equals 1/2 times 18. Again, remember when we have fractions and whole numbers, what we can do is put a 1 underneath our whole number and say, okay, what is 1 times 18? Well, that is going to give us 18. Then I have 2 times 1, which is going to give me 2. I can simplify these by 2. 18 divided by 2 is going to give me 9, and 2 divided by 2 is going to give me 1, and 9 over 1 is going to give me the value of 9. So now I know the value on my opposite side is going to be 9. So if 1 x plus 4 equals 9, okay, then the 1 does not need to be present, so I have x plus 4 equals 9. Okay, if I know that x plus 4 equals 9, then I'm going to use subtraction property of equality for the additive inverse of 4. So I have x plus 4 minus 4 equals 9 minus 4. So then x plus 4 minus 4 equals 9 minus 4. If x plus 0 equals 5, then I know that x equals 5. Let's do number 5. Ben's family left for vacation after his dad came home from work on Friday. The entire trip was 600 miles. Dad was very tired after working a long day and decided to stop and spend the night in a hotel after 4 hours of driving. The next morning, Dad drove the remainder of the trip. If the average speed of the car was 60 miles per hour, what was the remaining time left to drive on the second part of the trip? Remember, distance equals rate multiplied by time. So what our question is asking, what is the remaining time left to drive on the second part of the trip? I know that Dad travels a total of 600 miles and that he's traveling 4 hours on the first day of driving, and he's also driving on the second day, but that's what we don't know. We don't know how much he's driving on the second day. So for the amount of miles that he is driving for on the second day, we are going to use m as our variable to represent the number of miles driven on the second day. Because we don't know the amount of miles that was driven on the second day, we are going to have m plus the amount of hours he spent driving, which was 4 on the first night. So now I have m plus 4, and I'm going to multiply that by 60 miles per hour. Now that I have my equation set up, I need to say if 60 m plus 4 equals 600, then I need to take my inverse of 60, which I know is going to be 1 over 60, and multiply it by 60 multiplied by m plus 4 equals 600 multiplied by 1 over 60. Because when I multiply inverses together, that's going to give me a value of 1. So if I have 1 m plus 4, that gives me 600 divided by 60, which is going to give me 10. Then I know that m plus 4 equals 10. If n plus 4 equals 10, then I know that n plus 4 minus 4 equals 10 minus 4. If I know that n plus 0 equals 6, then m equals 6. So now we know that there were 6 hours left to drive. So our lesson summary for today, we worked backward to solve an algebraic equation. For example, to find the value of a variable in the equation 6x minus 8 equals 40. We used the addition property of equality to add the opposite of 8 to each side of the equation to arrive at 6x minus 8 plus 8 equals 40 plus 8. Then we use the additive inverse property to show that negative 8 plus 8 equals 0. Thus, 6x plus 0 is 48. Then we use the additive identity property to arrive at 6x equals 48. Then we use the multiplication property of equality to multiply both sides of the equation by 1/6 to get 1/6 times 6x equals 1/6 times 48. Then we use the multiplicative inverse property to show that 1/6 times 6 equals 1. Thus, 1x equals 8. Then finally, we use the multiplicative identity property to arrive at 8.